Before we start today's topics on the obstacles, steps of practice, let's recite the verse for beginning the sutra first. Please join palms. The unsurpassed, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter even in a billion aeons. Today we see, hear, receive, and uphold it, vowing to fathom the true meaning of the Tathagata. So this series talked on Śurangama Sutra. Proceed now to chapter 8. Okay, so previous talk, chapter 6 and 7, we talk about the 4 definitive instructions on purity and the Śurangama mantra. And briefly, it's about the threefold definitive studies on precepts, wisdom, precept, samadhi, and wisdom. So there are 2 types of 3 studies. One is conventional, mundane, 3-4 studies. So for example, the precepts has good and bad. You do good things, don't do bad things. And samadhi, you have entered into samadhi and get out of samadhi. And for wisdom, it follows the causes and consequence principle. And in Śurangama Sutra, we talk about the definitive supermundane, unconditioned practice of the 3-4 study. And all these 3 studies should base on the principles of emptiness and no self. Okay, so, and then we talk about how to settling a place for awakening. Last time we talked about how to prevent new karma. So first, we have to observe the precepts with purity and practice and observe the precept to follow the 4 definitive instructions on purity, which is on no sexual desire, no killing, no lying, and no lying, no killing, no stealing. Okay, and then how to uproot innate habits that we carry on life after life. So, for example, Ananda, because this innate habits of sexual desire, so that's why he encountered that woman, almost make him break the precepts. So the habit is so strong. So the most efficient way is to recite the mantra of this Śurangama mantra, and we introduce the content briefly, but not get into the detail. And then we have to set up a schedule for awakening. So just like we have a 7 days retreat, 14 days retreat, etc. Then in this sutra, Buddha taught us that we need to set a boundary. That is a practice for our practice area. And then we have to continue our practice for 3 weeks. And each week has different instructions. And the content is mainly recite the Śurangama mantra. So that's what we have for the last talk about chapter 6 and 7. And the Śurangama Sutra is the longest Śurangama mantra is the longest mantra so far for our practice. It has 5 chapters, 427 verses, and 2,620 words in Chinese. So this is a map. I think it's Tibetan's map for this mantra. So it's quite long, and so you have to memorize in order to recite it again and again continuously in a limited of time for a certain times of this mantra. So today, pretty much from the from chapter 1 to chapter 7, Buddha talked about, taught Ananda and the assembly about, what is the true mind and what is not your mind, and gradually to how to practice that. Buddha provide 25 methods from different practitioners that they share how they get enlightened, and basically from 6 faculty, 6 objects, 6 consciousness, and 7 elements. Okay, so that will be 25 approaches to get enlightenment. And then that taught this guideline, if you wanted to, the most efficient method is the hearing that recommended by Manjushri. And then this sutra move on to more practical parts, that and how we set up a boundary, how can we practice to get enlightenment in more efficient way. And now Ananda continue asking that Buddha, from the question start from the end of chapter 7 and move on to chapter 8. So at the end of chapter 7, Ananda asked Buddha, okay, this map, this I know, all this practice. Now, what is the path from, we are the ordinary people right now to achieve a paranirvana, to the highest, to attain Buddhahood? So what would happen in between, and what is the stages is that we can achieve in between? So that basically Ananda asked, what is the stage of dry wisdom? This we will talk about in the next talk. And then what is the 44 stages of the mind? Okay, and what is the 10 grounds? And finally, what is the bodhisattva at the stage of equivalent enlightenment? And of course, the final destiny is the complete enlightenment of the Buddha. So there are many stages in between from who we are, what we are, where we are right now, to paranirvana. That's the question proposed by Ananda. But before Buddha answered these questions, which I will share in my next talk, that Buddha taught Ananda very important things before you can get to the dry wisdom stage and start your real practice, okay? So it's very important for us as well. Sometimes we like to practice, diligently, and we want to achieve the enlightenment or make some progress, eagerly. So we think we just use the method, close the door or stay in the mountain and just do it. But Buddha said, I'm sorry, you have to correct something first before you start it. Okay, so this part is kind of summary from the previous chapter, very important concepts in Śurangama Sutra. And Buddha said that Ananda, that the wondrous or enlightened nature is perfect and luminous, without any names and attributes. Okay, therefore, fundamentally, there are no worlds and no beings. So we are human beings right now in this Saha world, right? And there are different kinds of beings in different worlds. Animal is different beings, and in their view, they are in a different world compared to human world, even though we think we are in the same world. Okay, goes the same way. So, but from the wondrous nature, from Buddha's view, actually, there are no worlds and no beings, first of all. And secondly, why we are who we are right now, why we perceive this world this way, right now, it is because of the delusion, the fundamental ignorance, that there is coming into being, there is arising. And because there is coming into being, then there is ceasing to be. That means perishing. So that's because we have fundamental ignorance, so we have the concept of arising. And because there is arising, then there is perishing. And the arising and perishing is so-called illusion that we have. And the extinction of this illusion is so-called reality or true suchness, which is entitled the reliance for both the transformation or realization of the Supreme Bodhi and the paranirvana. So basically, this paragraph, short paragraph, told us why we are deluded to think that we exist in this way and why we perceive this world in this way, because there is a fundamental ignorance and because we have the concept of arising and perishing. Okay, so if we want to practice, just seize the concept of arising and perishing. The concept or the knowledge is not like, oh, I don't want to think about it. It's not ceasing of the arising and perishing. It's like directly know, directly experienced that there is no arising and perishing. Okay, so Buddha will taught us how to practice that. Okay, and Ananda, if you now wish to practice the true samadhi and to directly realize the paranirvana of the Tathagatas like us, you should first recognize the two inverted causes which lead to the existence of beings and worlds. Buddha pointed out that before we start to get real practice, we have to identify what is these two inverted causes that make the existence of beings and worlds. So the first is called inverted cause of being. The second, the inverted cause of worlds. Okay, that's what we are talking about. We have to know what happened. And that's why beings, all beings exist and all worlds manifest. Now, the first is the inversion of beings. Basically, this section is talk about the 3 subtle appearance and 6 coarse appearances that frequently brought in our practice. So Buddha says that out of the true nature, the mind is luminous. It's luminous by itself because the nature is luminous and perfect. So that's why the mind from the nature definitely is luminous by itself. However, if the nature is aroused through the illumination of the mind, this deluded nature will give rise to subjective awareness. That's from within the original state, which has no attribute whatsoever, that which has definite attributes comes into being. So that means the mind, the nature and the mind is originally that innately luminous and perfect. But now, if we want to use this mind, so I want to see the nature, your mind try to illuminate something. You try to illuminate this nature, the true nature, then you will give rise to subjective awareness. Then the objective phenomena or objective attributes arise. Okay. And what's the problem? You remember in the previous chapters, Buddha keep telling Ananda that the lucidity of enlightenment, okay, once we have fundamental ignorance that we wanted to illuminate, we want to see something, quote unquote, we want to see something, then this lucidity of enlightenment becomes the illuminating awareness that try to see something. Okay, so, and once you try to see something, you generate awareness, then this subjective awareness will pair with the objective attributes. They come together in pair. So therefore, the existence of ignorance and its creation that follows, which is the beings and world, this pair. And the cause of this cause of subject, the cause means actually it's not exist, but we create it. So the cause, this cause of subjective wellness and its objective creation, this pair, the second pair, and the subjective beings dwelling in their objective abode world, the third pair, have no real basis from reality, which does not abide anywhere from reality, okay? They are established, the worlds and all beings. So all this I talk about, I mentioned briefly that why we have beings and we have worlds from our fundamental ignorance. So here is the diagram. We have a true mind, the enlightened lucidity, and then we have the fundamental ignorance, then our mind gets diluted. It becomes the illuminating awareness. And then from your left part, the true mind, absolutely no attributes. But now from this ignorance-based illuminating awareness, it developed the so-called subjectivity and objectivity. Okay, so this subjective mind awareness perceive the objective world or this body, then forming different kinds of attributes that we think is real. Okay, so that's what Buddha talked about. Then these paragraphs talk about the three subtle appearances. Okay, and this is in the awakening of faith in the Mahayana Sastra, it summarized Śurangama Sutra's teachings and then generate this concept of three subtle appearances and the six coarse appearance. Now it's the appearance of ignorance, and then is the appearance of subjective perceiver and appearance of objective world. Now it happened here from the very beginning. And based on this, then we further generate the six coarse appearances. And so what happened? Buddha continue the delusions of the original complete luminous enlightenment we have original complete luminous enlightenment, but now we dilute it right now. This delusion gives rise to a fabricated illusion. Okay, so you have fundamental delusion. Now you fabricate it further, more illusion, which has no real substance, neither relying basis. There is nothing, you know, our true mind is based on our true nature. But this illusions based on delusion, and delusion is not real. So these illusions has no real substance, neither relying basis. So this paragraph is very important for all the practitioners, especially Chan practitioners. If you wish to restore the non-diluted reality, this very wish for reality has already untrue the nature of true suchness. Okay, using this unreal defiled mind to recover real nature, and then this real nature will be diluted as an unreal defiled phenomena. So a lot of practitioners try to get enlightenment, and so so this concept, the eager to see the true nature, to the true reality, and then it diluted, fabricated in the defiled mind, that this enlightenment become a phenomena to grasp. Then you have problem, because the real nature has no attribute. Now you give it an attribute called real nature from out of your defiled mind. That is impossible. Okay, Buddha, you want to practice? Okay, don't use your unreal defiled mind. Try to see the true reality. Otherwise, this true reality that you try to see will be an unreal phenomena. Okay, so I spent quite a lot of time reading this Chinese. Tell you, you cannot tell too much. You have to really understand the Chinese. It's very very difficult. Okay, but after you know the meaning, then it becomes obvious, more obvious in English. Okay, okay. Now, through the mutual interaction, the unreal arising through the mutual interaction of the following things: the unreal arising, the unreal abiding, the unreal mind, and the unreal Dharma continuously appear and further get reinforced and fabricated into a new understanding that sent all activity to form the karma. I hope this grammar is correct. Anyway, because we now, with our defiled mind, we have a knowledge of unreal arising, the so-called unreal, the unreal arising, abiding, the mind, the Dharma, now formulated in our defiled mind. And these four elements of arising, abiding, mind, and Dharma, which are also unreal, these four elements mutual interact with each other, and then it will get reinforced and fabricated, reinforced each other, and then fabricated into a new understanding. Okay, and that understanding affect all our behavior or activity from our sixth faculty, from our body and mind, and that become the karma. Okay, so a lot of people ask, so does Buddha and Bodhisattva create karma? They manifest as, they manifest into this world and come to help people. This activity accumulate karma. It's not the activity itself. It's all about the mind. You use your defiled mind or you use your true mind. If you use defiled mind, and we use the defiled mind, then we have the concept of arising, abiding, mind, and Dharma, quote unquote, which is unreal. And to fabricate the understanding and to operate our body and mind, then we create karma. Then now further, then after we accumulate a lot of karma, right? Similar karma mutually attract. And because of this mutual attracted karma, they mutually extinguish each other and mutually give rise to each other. This is the reason why there exists the inversion of being. Oh, finally, we get to the end that Buddha explained what is the inversion of being. So from the appearance of ignorance, appearance of subjectivity and objectivity, then we do a lot of things to create karma and to formulate the knowledge and to create karma and further the karma. For example, you like to eat chocolate, then you walk down the street, you ignore the hamburger shop, but the chocolate shop you immediately identify that. Then you reinforce you want to buy chocolate, you want to eat chocolate, and this karma, reinforce, and then this karma form and get reinforced and continue exist in your consciousness. So now, if the similar karma mutually attract, right? Now it's get more and more and complicated, and it will continue extinguish and arise, extinguish and arise. That's why we get born and we die, birth and death, okay? And we are cyclically rebirthed human being or beings, okay? So now let's talk about the Yogacara theory here, okay? Now we have some innately arised obstacle about the Dharma, about the self, okay? That's from the seventh consciousness. And then we have the attachment from differentiations after we were born. So we have the obstacles of concept and obstacles of afflictions that is based on the differentiation of the mind, mainly the sixth consciousness, okay? And the innately arised obstacles, the obstacles of Dharma and obstacles of affliction is based on is out of seventh consciousness. So we, after we have the fundamental unreal concept, is already in with the seventh consciousness, okay? And when we formulate karma, and karma attract karma, then that goes to the seventh consciousness, okay? So now is this paragraph related to the formation of the six course appearances. So now the discriminating knowledge got formulated. and appearance of continuity. And after this knowledge continue, and then our existence continue, and then we start to attach, because the karma, similar karma, will attract each other, and eventually we have the names for that. Okay, and all this will produce karma. Okay. All this knowledge in the previous four, that will producing karma, and the similar karma attract similar karma, and suffering produced by the karma. Okay, so that basically are the 6 course appearance from based on the awakening of faith in the Mahayana Sastra. Okay, so these paragraphs Buddha tried to tell, Ananda, that before you practice, before you wanted to know the stages, from dried wisdom to para nirvana, you gotta know 2 things. This is the first thing, the inversions of beings. Okay, now I use the 12 link of dependent origination and the 3 subtle appearance and 6 coarse appearance to map out, the relationship of this. Okay, so how, if we wanted to practice, we have to reverse, right? Reverse this link, reverse this cyclically dependent origination. Okay, so then when we practice, we have to reverse the suffering from the karma, and we have to stop producing more karma, right? And then further, all the way to our fundamental ignorance. Now, the second type of inversion is called the inversion of worlds. And Buddha tried to explain that in this world, there are 12 types of beings, okay? And in the following talk, Buddha further elaborate with the 6 faculties, the 4 elements, and all that, try to explain, why we are who we are, why you are a human being with a lot of craving, why you are a human being with a lot of hatreds. And if you continue to do that, what will be your next life? And why you have this habit is come from your previous life. So Buddha explained that and try to help us practice. You have to identify your karmic tendency, your habitual tendency, and stop it before we talk about practice and see the true mind. Otherwise, you will be fooled by your karma, okay, by your habitual tendency. Now, the second, inversion of roles. This is a bit complicated for me, and I kind of like, I can get a sense out of it, and honestly, I cannot explain it in a way that is clear to myself and clear to you. So, but I spend some time to make a table so that I can see the differences. So here, Buddha say, what is the inverted cause of the world? Okay, that means the space and time, how space and time get formulated, get conceptualized. Okay, a lot of people, when they maybe in the long retreat, sometimes they have experienced, tell Shifu that I lost the concept of time and space. Okay, infinite time, infinite space, something like that. So time and space is actually a concept that we created. It's not a true reality. once you stop the process of conceptualizing them, then the time and space do not exist. Okay. First, Buddha says that because of the illusory existence of awareness out of ignorance, and its perception, okay, we talk about that, right? The fundamental ignorance, now you have subjective awareness and objective perceptions. There arise the unreal phenomena of being, divided into individual body and form this boundary and form this and boundaried space are established. What does that mean? You see, you and I, we have a boundary, right? At this, my body has a boundary. My body is here, my body is not there, and this is your body, and this is your body, right? Because you have your awareness, subjective awareness here, then you perceive your perception out there, right? So these phenomena are divided into individual body. You see what you see, I see what I see. Even in this room, right now, right here, we sit at different position. The world you perceive is definitely different from the world I perceive. Okay, you sit this direction, I sit this direction, right? This direction and that direction. What I see is definitely different from you. So there is a boundary. When there is a boundary, space, so 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, now it becomes a space. That's for small scale speaking. If the beings in US and the human being in US and then the human being in Asia and Europe, Africa, Australia, then we have a space for this planet. And if there is beings on Earth, and then we send somebody to the Mars, then point A and point B, right? Then we have a space for this solar system. Of course, we detect something. Okay, so now through our awareness, through our different perceptions from different angles, and this perception, divided into different points, then this space, the boundaries are established. Okay, so for those we cannot perceive, the place we cannot perceive, we have used telescope or something, to detect some data, and we just imagine, oh, there's a solar system, there is a galaxy or a Milky Way, so on and so forth, through the light that we detect. Okay, now the boundary, the space get bigger and bigger. But from Buddhist point of view, how Buddha explained the world has much larger scale, the 3,000 world, great world or something. We have a theory about this universe, okay? And because of the diluted cause of subjective ignorance and its objective creation, deludedly dwelling in their objective abode without stopping, time is established. Okay, so we have this space, and now we exist, we dwell somewhere, right? And now we continually, for example, you were born, you continuously stay in this space. 10 years later, 50 years later, right? And it becomes a time because this continuity. So time established. Now, how to calculate the 12 classes, categories of beings? That is the 3 periods of time and the 4 directions of space intermingle and combine to produce the 12 categories of beings. Can you imagine that? Just because we have a concept of the past, present, and future, just because we have the concept of north and east, north and south, east and west, right? If I'm in the north, you are in the south. If you are in the east, you are in the west. And just because of that, okay, now get to the very complicated. Oh, not yet. That's further. Now we have time and space, right? And this, the 12 categories of being. And how these beings operate in this world, because there is movement. The movement leads to sound. This part I'm not that clear as well. Okay, but we know that the sound wave is a vibration that get to our ear, right? Because the movement of the sound wave, that's why it can become a sound. So because there is a movement lead to sounds. And the sound, once we can hear the sound, and it leads to the visible objects. And these visible objects lead to odor that we can smell. And this smell object leads to the object of touch. So that's why we can touch. So the sound and object and the odor is actually, we can smell something because that chemical, that things touch our nose. That's why we can smell. It's a very subtle touch. But then further we develop, all kinds of touch. And then because the object of touch, it leads to flavor, taste, right? When you chew something, it's some sort of touching because the food need to touch your tongue in order to taste the flavor, right? And because of the flavors, there is object of Dharma. Okay, why there is why this sequential development of our 6 perception? I'm not that clear yet, but this also mentioned in the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. Okay, so based on the movement, we developed, it come to the sound we can hear, and leads to the visible object that we can see, and leads to the objects, the odor that we can smell, and the odor leads to the object of touch we can touch, and then leads to the flavor that we can taste, and finally leads to the objects of Dharma that we can think. Okay. Now, because these 6 kinds of, okay, sorry, the typo, diluted mental activity forms the essence of karma. Because of this 6 objects that we form the essence of karma, and the 12 classes of beings are divided and bound to the cycle of death and rebirth. Okay. Now, hence the wheel turning in Saha world, wherein this illusory sense data end in 12 different transformation in each rotation. Okay, so each fourth thought is very important here. Each fourth thought turns the wheel and contribute to these 12 types of birth. Okay, a more planned statement that every thought we come out from these sounds, visible up from hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, tasting, and thinking. All this generate this karma that will contribute, that will turn the wheel of this rotation and contribute to the 12 types of births. In other words, whatever the thought we have now has its impact on our future rebirth. And that is because each beings, okay, here is the things. Once we sequentially generate the 6 objects, then our 6 faculty will perceive the 6 objects and created the karma that store in the 8th consciousness. But this 12 from the interaction of these 6 objects with the 6 faculties, it actually activate all 8 consciousness. Okay, this is also has a complete theory in Yogacara school. But now we all know that the 18 realms by 6 faculties, 6 objects, and 6 consciousness, all this get initiated and intertwined with each other, and then created more karma and more karma. And these will influence our rebirth. Okay, 12 kinds, right? I put 4 together because 4 of each are very related. The original sentence is not that long, but actually it's very informative if you go to the original content in the sutra. But I make it short and make it a table. For example, if you if you were born from eggs, okay, so such as fish, birds, turtles, and snake, and it's a result of the illusion that arised from distorted movement. Okay, now the movement just like sound. Okay, and the thoughts that arise is more like your thoughts is more like flying up or being submerged. This kind of distracted thought. Sometimes you feel you wanted to fly in the sky. Sometimes you like to go to the submarine, to go to under the sea. If you, I don't know if that's the reason. Like a lot of people like to dive, in the ocean. They feel so good, right? And some people like to fly in the sky. And that kind of thought, a randomly distracted thought, actually maybe that's the habit or the karma that, in the past life, maybe you are birds or maybe you're fish. And so that's why you like this pattern, this kind of, and you frequently generate this kind of thought. Or if you like it, you like this kind of thought, then in the next life, it's very likely that, it could become a seed that you will be born from eggs. Okay, let's not talk about too much. Okay, how about human beings? Okay, the second one, that if we are born as human beings or beasts or dragons, or ascetic master, that means you like to practice in the mountain. You want to be immortal, being. Then usually all these are born from wombs, right? Mother's womb. And why we have this? Actually, this is related to our following talks, that why some of our emotions or emotional thoughts and craving or attachment that produce this kind of distracting thought actually has its reason. Okay, and then it also has the link, that why all this will link connected to our future life as what certain type of being, or it has you can trace back to examine, maybe your last life, past life, were a snake or a fish or something. That's why you carry certain type of karma or a certain type of habitual thinking in your mind. Okay, so we human, beast, dragon, all this were born as a result from a result of impure mingling, like a woman and man, right? Female and male, like snake, the human, all that, the distorted desire, that the desire that we want to get together, impure mingling. Okay, so oftentimes we will have, I don't know if this translation is right or wrong, like you have a thought, sometimes stand up and sometimes down. Okay, so we are human, or people climbing down. If you really like to lie down all the time, your body just like to lie down all the time, you got to re-exam, but it's not because you're tired, but because you just like to lie down all the time, or you I don't know, you need to trace back, why is that? Is that a habit you carry on from your past life? And don't make it a habit for your next life. Okay, anyway, and people say, as a human being, is not bad, right? If I have this thought habit and I become a human, sorry, no guarantee. Just guarantee you will be born from womb, but no guarantee you will be human. You probably like dog or cat, something. I don't know. So now the following, I cannot explain more. Like if you are born from the moisture, like warm, insect, when wet area. Don't use the scientific view to explain this. It's like in a very wet area, a little egg, something, and then and the worms and insects come from that. Okay, so the fluttering motion. Okay, thinking about the earthworm, like to dig in the in the in the soil and just dig it, and so kind of, and this kind of worm. And how about the metamorphosis? That means the creatures change from crawl to fly, like butterfly, right? It was a worm first, and then it become butterfly that can fly. So this has a thinking, oh, are you exchanging the old for the new? if you never like what you are right now and you wanted to change something, you continuously have the thinking that you wanted to change and you don't like the old thing, you want like the new thing, maybe something like that. Okay, so that's four. And the following eight is really out of our imagination. For example, if you will be born, you may certain of beings that may or may not make their bodies visible. So that means not Bodhisattva and Buddha, it's like there is a one type of being, sometimes can make them visible, sometimes invisible. I heard dragon can do it the same way. So not many people can see dragon, but dragon has the ability to make them visible or invisible. Or maybe the, what is that? 萤火虫是什么? Bio dragon? Okay. Sometimes visible, sometimes invisible, something like that. But I think it's more like different type. And some have no physical form. Okay. Maybe spiritual, more invisible form, but it's not spirit because spirit belongs to the seventh type. Okay. And so for one type of being, they are capable of cognition, but like a physical body. And there are type whose cognitive function is inactive. There are all kinds of beings, okay? And so that leads to the Buddha's final talk for this Śurangama Sutra is 50 demonic state. Because you have this kind of thought, you will resonate with this kind of being or resonate this type of form, then sometimes your practice get into the demonic state and you think you achieve something. Next one, the third wall, okay? So there are beings whose physical forms are not self-sufficient. So they will borrow people and borrow other beings. For example, I don't know if this is the right, but this is from the sutra, okay? So for example, the sea elements, you relied on shrimp to see. I don't know. So their body is not equipped enough to perceive this world completely. So they will borrow, rely on some other beings to fulfill this perception. And there are another type of being, sometimes like a physical form and sometimes with a physical form. And there are beings whose understanding has a deficiency. And so creatures whose body develop among those of different species. And that I know that there are some insects, they will have their eggs into other beings' body and use the nutrition of other insects to fertilize their egg and then eat up the nutrition of that beings. So there are beings sometimes like a cognitive capacity and sometimes with cognitive capacity. Okay, so these all 12 categories of being that I point out here, I cannot explain well, but it just reminds us that we have all types of thinking, all types of distorted concept, and we have a preference or affinity to a certain type of concept and then constantly will generate certain type of thinking or thought. And that's the reason that will lead us to be born from certain type, a certain way of birth, and then become one type of being here. The Buddha said there are 12 types. Okay, so there are so many forms in this world, not just human beings, not just animals that we can see. There are invisible beings, and there are sometimes visible, invisible. And so some people will say, oh, they are bodhisattva, but they are not. Okay. They show you, and then sometimes they disappear. So there are things we have to be aware of our thought, be aware of our tendency, be aware of our karmic tendency, habitual tendency, because it will manifest into different forms of beings. Okay. And also another thing is to remind us that here in this world, that not just human being and animal that we can see here. There are another 10 types. Okay, we can see insects and worm. We probably can see the first 4, but there are 8 that we need to be aware of. So when we practice, if we have different, we do not have the right mindset or correct views, then our thought will bring us to resonate with that type of beings, and we will get demonic state. Okay? Okay. Now, before Buddha explained those 55 stages from ordinary people to paranirvana, Buddha again remind us there are 3 gradual steps that we need to take on for our practice before we really step into the path. Okay. Now, however, you wish to practice and to master the samadhi of the Buddhas, you should take 3 gradual steps to eradicate the fundamental factors that are the source of this disordered mental activity. So the previous 12 types of mental activity that I told you, that I summarized for you, you have to be aware, where is the source of this distorted thought? You have to eradicate the source fundamentally. Eradicate it. Okay. Then we talk about practice the samadhi of the Buddhas. Otherwise, you have to do this first before you really want to practice the samadhi of the Buddhas, or really attain the paranirvana. And just like this is an example, taking this step will be like cleaning a pot that has held poisonous honey by scoring it with hot water mixed with the ashes of burnt incense. Once the pot has been cleaned in this way, it may be used to store even a celestial ambrosia, whatever. Like our mind is just like this pot. Or we stored all kinds of dirty, poisons, thought, defiled thinking, and habits and karma already. Now you wanted to put the samadhi of Buddha. You wanted to put, the good thing in your mind. First, you have to clean your mind first. Okay, all this thing, you have to clean it first. So this 3 gradual step is to clean the mind, prepare the mind for the practice of the samadhi, the Buddha's samadhi. What are the 3 gradual steps? First, to develop the practice that eliminates auxiliary causes. I'll explain it later. The second, the actual practice that uproots the fundamental causes, okay, or the distorted causes, okay. Third, to deepen the practice by opposing the existing karma. 3 very important steps for all of us, no matter what kind of practice we take on. First, eliminate the auxiliary causes that will deepen, for whatever that will enforce our distorted causes. We have to eliminate it, and we have to really eliminate it, uprootly eliminate these distorted causes, and then opposing, process in the opposite way that we used to create karma. Now, what is eliminate auxiliary causes? Buddha said that the 12 classes of beings of this world cannot sustain themselves without some kind of nourishment, which may be taken in one of the 4 ways. So the 12 categories of beings that I mentioned, the 3 tables, all of us need to eat in 4 ways, okay? First, we can nourish our body by mouth, chewing food, and we get nutrition, right? Or you can nourish your body by touch. Touch your smell, okay, like the ghost or heavenly being, right? And how about by thought? The more high being, they just see it, or they just thinking about it. For example, for human being, if you are really, you think about something so devotedly, sometimes you forget about sleeping. You sleep, you forget about eating, right? But you are okay. Because your thought nourish your body. Or some artists, right? They are so devoted in that artwork and that thought, writing, or it will nourish them, or by consciousness. See, your mind, when you do the meditation, right? Your mind is in a very deep, very subtle, blissful state. You don't need to eat. That bliss, that joy from your consciousness can feed you. Okay, so this is just in short. There are 4 types of ways to nourish our quote-unquote body. Okay, and all beings must take nourishing food to live. And if they consume a toxic substance, they may die. Right? So based on this, beings who seek to enter samadhi must refrain from eating the 5 plants of the onion groups. Okay, so a lot of people asking, why, especially Chinese tradition, okay, we don't eat the five onion groups, which are onions, garlic, scallions, leeks, and chives. It's a very big, chives, chives. And so this is talk about the precept. Don't eat it. Why is that? Do you know? Like American in the West, vegetarian, they eat all this. But Asian, like Asian Buddhist vegetarians, we don't eat this. People are very curious. Buddha said that when eaten cooked, these plants arouse sexual desire. When eaten raw, they increase anger. Okay, so all these are what we try to avoid. Buddha will talk about that later. We try to avoid sexual desire, and we try to avoid emotion, especially anger. Okay, craving and hatred. But now, nothing, just food will enhance your sexual desire and anger. Please avoid it. Otherwise, this food, accelerate. It will enhance these causes. Okay, so this is first one is simple. Don't eat the 5 onion groups. Second, how to uproot the fundamental causes. That means the distorted causes. So Buddha says that beings who wish to enter samadhi must strictly observe the pure precepts. They must rid themselves of sexual desire and must not consume alcohol or meat. Further, people of this world who do not steal from one another will never become in debt to one another. They will incur no debt from the past. In short, why we need to strictly observe the pure precepts? The sexual desires lead more life and death. The Buddha taught earlier. The second is if you consume alcohol, you lost your mind. Your ignorance get enhanced. You don't know what's going on, and your mind get fuzzy and not clear. What about meat? Like a lot of people arguing, can I still eat meat after I take Bodhisattva retreat precepts? Like, I think our master is kind of expediently show his compassion to his disciples, saying that it's not a must, but if you can stop eating meat, that will be best. Why not eating meat? Because you eat people's meat, other beings' meat, you commit indirectly the killing. People will kill animal for you to eat. Okay? And now it's a certain kind of affinity that will drag you if you eat a lot of meat. And how about stealing? If you steal, no matter it's money, property, credit, honor, fame, that means she's a good person, but you steal his good credit. You steal him and tell people that she's bad. It's a lying. Also, you steal his reputation, her reputation. Okay. And you hear something and you steal people's credit, the project things, right? And how about if you are the volunteers of Chan Meditation Center, and let's go to Foguangshan and Tzu. They have some big donors. Let's make connection to them and try to bring them to Chan Meditation Center. Maybe they'll donate money to us as well. Don't do that. Shifu say we never do that. 不要挖人家墙角 ，OK？ Because this is type. If you observe the precept with purity, you will never come up with an idea like that. Go to other people's temple, find the resource, find the people, find the money from other place. It's kind of like scoop the advantage from other without effort. 不劳而获，千万不要。Okay, so otherwise, whatever you take from other people without any effort, you have to pay back. You will pay back. And this karma will trap you. It will drag you. And you want to practice samadhi? Sorry, a lot of obstacles. So why? We need to uproot the fundamental causes. If we want to practice Buddha's samadhi, Buddha said, please uproot those fundamental causes. No sexual desire, no killing, don't eat meat, don't drink alcohol, no stealing, those precepts, right? 4 fundamental, don't lie. Those, don't do it. Otherwise, you never. But if you can do it, your body, speech, and mind so pure, and strictly follow the precepts and keep it pure and clean, Buddha said that when such pure people practice samadhi, so after, that means all the practitioner, you want to practice well, you have to uproot the fundamental causes first, and then come to practice samadhi again. They will very naturally be able to see the worlds of the 10 directions while remaining in the bodies. Okay, and without the so-called celestial eyes. You have some super knowledge. But this super knowledge, you don't need to like, oh, my consciousness go out in the sky and I see something. Not this type. Here, in your body, without the heavenly eye, with your human eyes, you can see the worlds of the 10 directions. And you will see the Buddhas and hear the Dharma. And they will respectfully receive the sage's instruction in person. Sounds like the Western paradise, huh? You will see the Dharma, Buddhas, and hear the Dharma. And you will gain great super knowledge that you are able to roam playfully throughout the 10 directions. And you will have clear knowledge of past life. They will never encounter danger or difficulties. See, sometimes when we follow the precepts, we think we follow the precept with purity, but actually not, because we did not uproot the fundamental causes of it. It's very difficult to uproot the sexual desire, you know. It's everywhere. You like to dress beautifully? That's a certain type of sexual desire because you want to attract people's attention. You want to make your body beautiful. This is a very subtle sexual desire. Okay, that's from the sutra. Okay, so uproot it. You will naturally have this power. You don't have to pursue this super knowledge. It will automatically revealed. Okay. And how about the last one? Opposed further. Okay, you can uproot the causes, fundamental causes. And later on, you have to reinforce your practice by opposing the existing karma. Okay, so what is our existing karma? Okay, it's not like, oh, I like to eat chocolate, I like onion, I like banana, that kind of karma. Okay, this is more fundamental karma. Here is the statement. People who observe the prohibitory precepts with purity. First, you have to follow the precepts. No longer have sexual desire. Then their minds are last drifting to outside six objects of perceptions. Because this is our habit. Our habit is our sixth faculty always grasping outside, the outside object. That's our habitual tendency. That's our karmic force. That our sixth faculty always. Now you have to exercise it in an opposite way. Don't. Your mind don't drift to outside six objects of perception. Don't do it. Because the mind, when the minds are last drifting, you just put your mind, Gogong Pa's always say that, put your mind here. Focus your mind here. Because when your mind is not drifting outside, the attention automatically turning inward to the faculties for source. You don't need to do anything. You just focus your mind here. Don't drifting outside. Then your mind will naturally turn inward and try to find the source. Why you can see, why you can hear. You remember the teaching for Ananda in the very beginning? Why you can see? What is the source that make you see? Not your eyes. So 7 places, right? Remember? Ananda answered 7 times. Buddha say, no, no, no. And since their faculties are no longer paying attention to objects of perception, the faculties no longer have objects to pair with. Usually the eyes pair with the visual object, right? The ear pair with the sound. The nose pair with the odors. The tongue pair with the flavors, right? So all this, your faculties no longer pair with those objects. And all 6 faculties return to the perfect oneness, the source. And all 6 functions of the faculties cease to respond outside. Hey, this is the step for all the practitioners here. No matter what method you recite Amitabha, you Huatou, you silent illumination, you know, whatsoever, counting the breaths. First, put your attention here, bring it back, and you go inwards and stop. Your 6 faculties stop to grasping or pairing with the sensory objects. And it will naturally, automatically return to the perfect oneness, the source, why we can see, why we can hear. That oneness is not 6, it's 1. Okay. So when you get to that, you can use your eye to see, to hear. Remember that. You can cross the function of the 6 faculty. 六根互用. Now, regularly your 6 faculty with 6 objects and generate 6 consciousness and on and create more karma, more body, speech, and mind activity. Now, with the practice of the 6 faculty, you find the source. You get back to the perfect oneness, the source, which is the nature of emptiness. Then the object, the 6 object, you see the emptiness of the 6 object, and your mind become lumicity and pure. That's it, the true suchness. Now, 12 link again, 12 link and the 3 subtle 3 subtle appearance and 6 coarse appearance. Now, from when your 6 faculties contact with the 6 objects, generate usually we following the path, returning the 12 link of dependent origination, our 6 faculties, the 6 entrance, contact with the 6 object, and we have a feeling, sensation, and we generate craving and grasping, and we have produce more karma. Then we have a next life and death, right? We always, our habit is like this. Now we have to oppose this habit. When you have the contact, your 6 faculties contact with the object, no longer grasping, no longer pairing, and push upward to the source, to the unity of the one, to the oneness, the perfect oneness. And then we talk about the 55 stages to parinirvana. From the 6th entrance to contact, instead of following to feeling, craving, grasping, possession, now you need to oppose these directions upward, turning upward, and go to see and break or seize the objectivity and subjectivity. Then we talk about the 55 stages. Okay, so if you can do that, Buddha say, then the lens throughout the 10 directions will be as pure and as transparent as a bright moon appearing within a crystal. And in their bodies and minds, they will experience bliss, wondrous perfections, and their essential quality with all beings and all things. They will obtain peace and great tranquility. And in their midst of all the Buddhas, in their midst, all the Buddhas will appear mysterious, perfect, pure, and wondrous. These people will soon obtain the knowledge of non-arising. If we can oppose the existing karma that following the 12 dependent origination, you oppose it and try to find a source. Okay? And that's what Buddha say. And then after taking this gradual step, the practice will progressively advance in the succession of stages to become sages, which are the topic, which now Buddha get back to Ananda's original question. What is the dry wisdom? What is the 44 stages of the mind? What is the 10 ground? What is the equivalent enlightenment before we attain Buddhahood? Buddha say, hey, do this. Then next, let's talk about the 55. Okay, sorry, typo. 55 stages of the Buddha's Bodhisattva path. Next talk. Chapter 8, the second part of chapter 8, the 55 stages of Bodhisattva path. And next month, I will talk about this. Okay, thank you for your attention.